Poland's national airline is back in the air this morning after a cyber attack grounded 11 flights and 1,400 passengers on Sunday. LOT Airline says that hackers prevented crews from creating flight plans.
The CEO says no airline is safe. He calls the attack an industry problem on a much wider scale that can happen to anyone, anytime. Former FBI Executive Assistant Director Shawn Henry is in Washington. He is president of CrowdStrike Services. Shawn, good morning.
Morning.
Is the CEO right?
Well, I think what the CEO is talking about is attacks against the business networks, the commercial network, as opposed to aviation in-flight controls. Those business corporate networks are under attack all the time, just like corporate networks are globally. In this particular case, it looks like this was a denial of service attack, which essentially shut down access to the network. It wasn't actually a hack into the network where data was disrupted or destroyed.
So, Shawn, is this a problem for all airlines? You know, in this particular case, that the airlines, the flights were on the ground. Should we be worried about being hacked when flights are in the air?
Yeah, you know, again, we're talking about two separate networks, commercial business networks, which every company has, the type of networks that have your business records on them, et cetera, versus the in-flight, the aviation control systems. Those are separate systems, so we shouldn't expect to see airplanes falling out of the sky. That being said, we know that adversaries are interested in targeting critical infrastructure. They're looking at aviation, certainly, again, on the business side. They're looking at the lights and power, et cetera. We've got to be alert to that. We've got to be constantly defending against that. Organizations need to be proactive to make sure they can detect and disrupt the adversaries before their networks are disrupted themselves.
Cyber attacks seem like the big story of 2015, with many people concerned that a big one is coming. How worried are you?
Well, I think that this is one of the most critical threats that we face to both economic security and national security. There are miscreants around the globe who are looking to disrupt organizations, to steal their intellectual property, research and development, et cetera. It's something that I'm very concerned about. We looked at what just happened to OPM, the U.S. government, where millions of records for federal employees, past and present, were stolen. We see adversaries every day accessing these networks to try to steal that type of data. This is something that we have to be concerned about. There have to be more action taken both on the corporate side as well on the government side.
So, Shawn, it's interesting because a lot of the cyber attacks we've seen are all about stealing data. What about a cyber attack that actually takes down our electrical grid, takes down our financial system? You know, as Gail asked about taking down airlines. What threat are we worried about there?
Yeah, this is something that we just saw most recently with Sony. You'll recall Sony had data that was stolen off the network, but they also had parts of their network that were actually destroyed. Again, this is a corporate network. We're starting to see adversaries take more aggressive actions. And if they move from merely the theft to actually destruction of networks, that's where we're going to see this significant impact. That's why we've got to get way out ahead of this and not just react, but be more proactive.
Are we out ahead today?
We're not. The adversaries, the offense outpaces the defense right now. There are a lot of corporations who are in front of this. There are companies that are recognizing what the real impact is to their network and then the cascading impact on the networks. But that is the exception, not the rule, unfortunately, Charlie.
All right. Very scary information. Thank you, Shawn Henry.